Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Low Side Podcast. This is, of course, a podcast where two or sometimes three dudes gather around a room and talk about whatever is on their mind. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Nate. I'm joined with Alex.
Hello, everybody.
And not Steve today.
Not Steve. Where's Steve?
He couldn't make it today, so it's just a duo episode this time, but that's okay. It's been a little while. Our schedules have been conflicting for the past 3 weeks or so. So we've had a rough time trying to get together to actually do the podcast, but now we are here. And today we've got a great show for you. But before we get into that, I just want to mention that we are on iTunes and Google Play now.
Oh, yeah.
So we've got more ways for you to listen to us. Of course, if you're on either of those, just search the Low Side Podcast and we will show up. Especially on iTunes, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys would leave us a review. Hit us with that 5 stars. It definitely helps out with us being able to be found in the algorithms of the iTunes podcast store.
Those damn algorithms.
Yes. I don't know what it is about iTunes podcast, but for whatever reason, getting reviews legitimately gives you a big boost in the algorithm.
That doesn't surprise me. I mean, isn't YouTube the same way too? Or if you get a lot of likes and comments and things like that, you're more likely, unless you're one of these giant corporations that are basically paying to be on the trending pages these days.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, engagement on YouTube in general is what usually brings in the views. Whatever that means. And of course, we're on all sorts of social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. That is the Low Side Podcast. You can follow us there. And it should be noted that how we're doing the iTunes and Google Play is a little different because we don't want to pay for SoundCloud.
Yes, we're also on SoundCloud, by the way.
Yeah, you could check us out on SoundCloud, but only our most current episodes are going to be available on iTunes and Google Play, and then the archive will sort of be on YouTube. But we'll still be posting our new episodes on YouTube if you want to listen there as well.
Which, by the way, if you guys really love us, you should be listening to the episode right away.
Right away. So hopefully, drop us a subscription on iTunes and Google Play. And now let's just get into the episode. Alex, what are we talking about today?
Oh, we got a hot episode today. Ooh. We're going to be talking about Bill Cosby.
Yikes.
Ooh. We're going to be talking about MoviePass and all the things they're not doing correct. We're going to be talking about Shredy's take on the Avengers Infinity War. And to finish off the episode, our main topic today is what inspires us? What drives us to do what we do creatively?
Nice. So let's just jump right into it, Alex, and let's talk about what's going on with Bill Cosby. He's going to prison now. He's going bye-bye forever. Of course, if you didn't know, he got into some hot water. I believe the first trial was last year.
Something like that.
And where he basically drugged and molested 3 women. Well, more than 3 women, but
I think he was accused by at least, I can't remember the number. It was between 30 and 60, which is completely outrageous.
Yeah, but there was 3 main ones that really sort of led the trial against him. And
they were able to basically pursue a criminal lawsuit against him, with everything that's going on.
And the first trial ended with a hung jury. There wasn't enough evidence for them to convict Bill Cosby. But this time around with the trial, with sort of the whole sexual assault implosion of Hollywood, I think that really helped.
It probably helped a lot more women come forward with everything. But I'm not really sure how that stuff works with the law and whatnot, but I'm sure, that kind of pushed the judges to bring this case back up and, try and solve it, basically.
Yeah, it pretty much, the Me Too movement and all of that stuff with the Weinsteins definitely brought to light that, this does happen, and it does happen quite a lot, and a lot of people know, and they just don't do anything about it. And I think that was definitely the case for Bill Cosby. So, at the age of 80 years old, Bill Cosby was convicted of 3 felony counts of aggravated indecent assault.
That's really unfortunate because, he's going to spend the rest of his life pretty much in prison and he's going to die there. But, it doesn't matter at this point, he still should go to jail, yes. But, he was able to get away with it for so long. And, it's almost like he won.
Yeah, in some ways, but I feel like it was important for those women who were affected by Bill Cosby to see that the justice system can actually work.
Yeah, for once.
Yeah, because the first time I'm sure they were heartbroken. I mean,
I could only imagine. Yeah,
because it's just a terrible situation, especially for someone like Bill Cosby, who was so liked in the public. He was an icon, a family-friendly icon for many years. With
America's Dad was his nickname for a long time.
Yeah, and look at him now, and it's just
America's Prison Dad now.
Yeah, I
hope somebody is going to call him Daddy here real soon.
Oh God, yeah. It just goes to show that you never truly know who anyone really is off camera or just in their own private life. Because, like I was just saying, the Bill Cosby Show, super successful. Like you said, America's Dad. He had all of the, like the Jell-O pudding commercials and all of that stuff. Stuff really marketed towards like kids, which is just really makes me feel weird.
Yeah. Luckily, this whole situation didn't have anything to do with kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how young the women were. I mean, I'm sure they were fairly young, but at least of legal age.
I hope so. I mean, unfortunately, I didn't look at it ahead of time, and
I didn't either.
I don't have the information in front of me, but I just thought that we would talk about that for a little bit because, fuck Bill Cosby. Yes. He's a scumbag.
Hashtag fuck Bill Cosby.
Sorry about that, Steve. I know you don't like us cursing on the show, but there you go.
Whoops.
Looks like you should have been on this episode.
Looks like you should have been. You need to daddy up over here, Steve. You need to tell Nady Boy and I what to do.
We're yelling at Steve because we're upset he's not here today.
Yeah, we really miss Steve.
So moving on to a little bit of lighter news and something that I just love talking about.
Yep.
And that is MoviePass. If anyone knows me personally, they know that I've been super critical of MoviePass since they lowered their price to $9.95 last year. Little late last year. It hasn't even been a full year. And I made a video about it on my channel pretty much criticizing MoviePass because their terms of service is super sketchy, super shady, and just the $9.95 a month thing was never going to be sustainable. And we're
not for a long time, definitely not.
Yeah, and we're starting to already, not even a full year later, see the repercussions that are happening.
Yep, and we got a long list of shit that they're starting to do right now. So
first off, MoviePass now, thankfully, if you already purchased your MoviePass subscription, you are grandfathered in and you can still see one movie a day. But now they're offering a new subscription that is the only subscription you can sign up for, where you can see one movie a week and you get a 3-month trial to iHeartRadio.
Ooh.
What a deal.
Right?
Like who uses iHeartRadio?
I don't even know what iHeartRadio is.
I don't know what it is exactly either.
Is it like a music subscription like Apple Music or something?
I think so, but it's more of like Pandora where it's like radio stations.
Sure.
So like I've never heard anyone ever in my entire life knowing what using iHeartRadio at all or even knowing what that is. Like we just said, we barely know what it is. So it's pretty hilarious that they think that somehow that is a good stand-in for being able to see a movie a day. Like that's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
It's not even like you're getting the subscription for like a long period of time. You're getting a 3-month trial, and after that 3 months, it's up. So you won't even have iHeartRadio after that.
You're still going to be paying for MoviePass, and you're only getting your one movie per week. Now, here's the thing. All right, for $10 a month, that's still a really good deal. But people are going to get real pissy because they already are getting real pissy that they were able to see a movie per day. Well, now you can't see the same movie twice. Right? Yeah, you can't see the same movie twice, which is very unfortunate with how spotty their app is. Because say you accidentally pick like Avengers or something like that, and then just for some reason the app just doesn't work because that seems to be a problem a lot for some people.
Yeah.
You're just kind of screwed, and the theaters can't do anything about that.
And it's funny too because the advertising for MoviePass is not making it seem like it's an iHeartRadio trial. They're making it seem like you're actually just getting the
sort of like a combo.
Yeah, like you're going to get both, and on top of that, with MoviePass is now requiring you to pay for 3 months in advance. when you sign up for this new subscription service. Yeah, you have to pay for the first 3 months right off the bat, or else you can't do it. So they want your money up front so that they hope and pray that you're not going to see more than a couple of movies a month.
So yeah, that's their whole philosophy with everything. So a lot of questions that I get asked, because I'm kind of an advocator of MoviePass right now, because I basically tell people, enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, you are subscribed to it, right?
I am subscribed to it, yes. So the $10 a month, it used to be $40 a month, and I thought it was worth it back then. If you're a pretty frequent moviegoer, but the $10 a month, I'm like, yeah, of course I'm going to do that. I know it's not going to last forever, and they say that in their terms of service that they can change the price whenever they want. So I'm like, get it while it's hot, because this isn't going to last forever.
Right.
But basically, their model behind it is they just don't think people go to the movies. They know that attendance is down and is continuously shrinking throughout the year. So they're like, okay, well, we're just going to give people or have people give us money. They're never going to go to the movies. We're going to profit. But here's the thing. They found that people actually use it.
Yeah.
And they're going to the movies and they're actually using it once a day.
And I feel like a lot of people that are subscribed to MoviePass don't know that, essentially MoviePass is paying for your tickets full price every single time.
Every single time.
It's not like they have a bulk deal or anything like that. So when you go and see, a movie every single day, they're footing your bill, and there's just no way to sustain that business model at $9.95 a month.
Yes, you want to hear a crazy statistic that I read this morning?
Yeah.
I think it was from the LA Times, but they quoted that MoviePass is losing $20 million a month right now, at least for the last year, because of their model.
I'm honestly not shocked.
Yeah.
And another thing they're making some people do, they're testing out a beta feature, which they used to do.
Which I didn't know this. I didn't know they used to do this, but it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, so they are also forcing select users to now start taking pictures of their ticket stubs and sending them into MoviePass to prove that they're actually buying the ticket, which I'm not really sure how that
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, can you just, I guess, go to a movie theater, load the however much the ticket is on the debit card, and go to Walmart and use the $9.95 to buy whatever you want?
Well, here's something that I just thought of. If you're smart,
yeah,
you could theoretically, with the one movie a day thing, buy up a ticket for that day, just sell it for $5, something like that. And you can probably make a hefty profit. So maybe they found that people are trying to cheat the system a little bit too.
Yeah, but like I said, they used to do it and then they stopped, and now they're starting it again.
Yeah.
And most of the time, from what I understand, is that it really doesn't do anything besides inconvenience the person that has to take the picture.
I don't really understand the philosophy behind that. How does that prove that they're watching the movie? And the debit card is useless.
Right.
It has one use, and it's to use at the theater, and you can't use it without, checking into the theater before you go to the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they're doing this.
So it's pretty hilarious that not even a full year later, MoviePass is already shitting the bed, changing things up on their customers, which is exactly what I warned people of when subscribing for MoviePass. And I wouldn't be shocked if somewhere down the road this year that they just flip the script on all of the users and force everyone to go one movie a week. That would not shock me at all. And it's in the terms of service that they can do that. So they'll do it to you and you won't be able to do anything about it.
Yep, and everybody's going to get pissy with the theaters, so that'll be oodles of fun.
Yeah, and we all know how good MoviePass's customer service is too, so...
Yes, basically, MoviePass's customer service is non-existent. If you have a problem with MoviePass, you're better off just taking a hammer to your phone, because it's essentially the same thing.
I imagine it... Have you ever seen that one meme where it's the dog with the hat on, and the house that he's in is on fire and he's sitting at a desk and it just says, "This is fine."
Yeah.
That's what I imagine MoviePass's customer service is like. Just one guy in a room, everything's on fire, and he's just like, this is fine.
Yep, this is fine. I'll take care of it. Or it's just, the dog at the computer.
It's an actual dog.
Yeah, it's an actual dog. They're doing a good job. They're just, not very helpful.
So it looks like MoviePass is not doing well right now. And
I really hope they get their stuff together because, I really love the service. I think it's a great idea to have this subscription service for moviegoers because it really does get people through the door.
Right.
It's just that there is so many problems with this particular one. Like they're just not gonna. They just don't have it right now. Like when it works, it's great. But when it doesn't work, man, does it suck.
And I agree with you. Like, I don't want to seem like I'm coming off as a hater. I would love for MoviePass to be like the perfect service, but I just think that what they're doing right now is just nonsense. Especially when they really thought that they could afford, they could essentially sustain themselves by selling your data to like other companies and stuff. But that really doesn't generate like that much money, you know?
Apparently not.
So, hey, there we go. So moving on, be wary of MoviePass. You might want to look out for that.
Yep. Like I said, get it while it's hot, but if they start doing some sketchy things, get out of it while it's hot.
Yeah. Although I would probably be willing to bet that if you pay for the 3 months up front and say you only use it for a month and want to cancel, guarantee there's no refund.
Probably not.
Guarantee they're just like, nope. You can't get your money back.
Well, at least enjoy it for those 3 months.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're moving on here. We're going to Shreddy's take on Avengers Infinity War. This is going to be a spoiler-free discussion.
No spoilers on this one.
Even though, I'm sure everyone in
and
the
their
world,
mother has seen this movie already.
Except for you, Buck. I know you're listening, and I know you haven't seen it yet. But so we're keeping it spoiler-free.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it spoiler-free just because... I don't know. Everything that I have to say about it doesn't really have any spoilers in general, so I just don't really see the point. So I'm just going to give you a brief synopsis of the movie, which I know may seem a little silly because it's just, a Marvel movie and it's an Avengers movie. But, I'm going to do it anyway because it's fun for me. So basically, the characters from nearly every Marvel movie that has been released over the last 10 years teams up together to try and prevent Thanos from retrieving the Infinity Stones missing from his collection. Am I pretty much right about that?
Yeah.
And at the beginning of the film, he has, I think, half of them.
I think, he has 2 or 3.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of them. First scene is basically him trying to get one of these stones. So, I mean, it happens right off the bat. And then for the rest of the duration of the movie, he's trying to find the last of them. He needs these Infinity Stones to pretty much make him unstoppable.
Right. And that's pretty much what it is, because each of the stones, for those of you who don't know, control a certain aspect of, I guess, reality, including reality.
Right.
So there's like a time one, a space one, a reality one, a mind one. And then I think there's a couple others, but I can't think of them off the top of my head. So
basically, my overall take on it is I really like this movie. And I can't believe that I'm saying that I really liked a Marvel movie, but they really killed this movie. So basically, I'm going to talk about what I loved about it first. We'll talk about what I didn't like, then we'll move on from there. But aside from Black Panther, this is one of the first Marvel movies, probably I don't remember like how they divided up all the phases, but I know at least from phase 3 where it did not bore me to death. Like, good God. Like, okay, so basically with Marvel movies, I'm really interested for the first half, and then by the second half, I'm somewhere else. I'm in space. Like, I got the space. I don't know if that's what the Space Stone does, but I'm in outer space, man.
There's only so much you can take of every Marvel movie ending the exact same way, with giant, bombastic, over-the-top battle scene between 2 essentially invincible characters, to the point where it just becomes uninteresting, because you're just like, I've seen this before. I've seen this 50 times in the past 4 years before.
Right.
And I have to agree with you. This movie definitely changed. I really enjoyed it, which was shocking to me, considering I thought the trailers looked like a giant mess. I thought the movie was going to be a mess, because how can you make a movie with
that many characters,
like 10 main characters, and have like an appropriate amount of screen time for each? But it's really sort of a different movie. It's not like I wouldn't say the heroes are the main character. I don't
even know if there's really a main character. Yeah, Thanos is almost the main character. You could probably argue that.
That's what I was going to say, is this is more so like Thanos' movie, really.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing to me, even though, in my opinion, I still find that Thanos was a little underdeveloped in the movie.
And you know what? They probably did that because they're trying to space everything out into 2 movies.
Yeah.
But that actually brings me to my next point is Thanos is in the movie.
Hey,
Holy crap. You're telling me there's a Marvel villain that's in the most of the movie?
it's been 6 years coming,
Yeah.
6 years of teases with Thanos, and I can safely say that Thanos is the best MCU villain
Yes.
out of any of the movies.
And I was very nervous about it, mostly because of his appearance, I guess, from the trailers. But
the Rick Harrison pawn shop
yeah,
memes.
I'm just like, ugh. And you know what? I'm almost wondering if just some of that CG just wasn't complete, for the trailer. Because the CG is really not that bad in this movie, especially in Thanos. I know you had some different thoughts about it, but I'm just like, man, this looks really good. Like, because you got Josh Brolin playing both Thanos and Cable in movies that are literally weeks apart right now. I had no idea that was, Josh Brolin, except for his voice.
He's cashing those paychecks,
Like
and I'm
really
happy
is.
for him.
Yeah.
I love Josh Brolin, one of my favorite actors. But while we're speaking about CG, I'll just give sort of my take on it. And I thought throughout the film, the CG was extremely uneven. Sometimes it looked really great. Other times it looked really bad. Thanos, for the most part, looked pretty good, but there was a couple scenes where I was just like, ooh. And especially the floating head syndrome in this movie is really bad. And what do I mean by floating head syndrome? Pretty much around maybe Iron Man or maybe the first Avengers movie, they stopped using a practical Iron Man costume for Robert Downey Jr.
I understand.
Yeah, he used to have like an unmasked costume that he would wear or just something that would like make it like look a little bit more seamless, but then they went full CG and just made him have like a sort of like disembodied head look. And that trend continues in this movie, except for now it's not only Robert Downey Jr., it's also War Machine and it's also Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I thought the CG, especially on War Machine, there was some really rough parts where his floating head syndrome was really bad. And same thing with well, I guess it's kind of a spoiler, but a certain character that's also in a certain suit also has really bad floating head syndrome.
Yeah.
So to me, the CG could have been better, and especially for the estimated budget, which I don't know if you've looked into that, but it's allegedly like
between 3 and 400 million right now.
Yeah.
Which you got to think, I was doing some deep thoughts about this, but with all the actors in it, because I don't know if this is, true news or not, but on the first Avengers movie, I think Robert Downey Jr.'s paycheck was between 20 and 50 million.
So you can only imagine what it is now.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. He's banking hard on this movie, but you got to think probably like at least 100 million of that is going towards all of the main characters, if not more. So
with a movie with such an extreme budget, I just want Marvel to get a different visual effects team. It's clear to me that it has to be the same team that does every single movie, or at least like the same company, because all of the CG all looks very similar throughout the movies. And I think that's just a complaint from me about the MCU in general, is I feel like the CG has always been really uneven and it's never really improved.
They usually just go for stuff that just looks super colorful.
Yeah.
I don't think they're really concerned with making it look real per se. Because, you and I had this discussion not too long ago where we're like, they really need to use like the people who do the Star Wars CG, because man, it is top notch.
Yeah.
In all their movies.
Or even, obviously something like War for the Planet of the Apes does not have nearly as much CG as Avengers movies do. But the CG that you see in that movie just proves that your CG can look photorealistic if you try hard enough.
Yeah.
And especially when I would have to imagine that the budget for Infinity War is probably like 3 or 4 times the budget of War for the Planet of the Apes. So
no doubt.
There's really no excuse for the uneven CGI.
Yeah. So going on to my next point, like we were saying before, there's so many characters and so many storylines and things like that. You would think that would get super overwhelming, but I just didn't really feel like that.
No.
Like I thought that everything was very well paced. Everything was very spread out evenly. So like I was able to follow the story. Like sometimes in the Marvel movies, I'll feel a little lost, especially if I'm getting bored. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell's going on right now. But I don't remember all the details now. But like when I was watching the movie, like everything makes sense to me. So like I can follow everything. The story's simple enough to follow. And, it just, like I said, it just didn't feel overwhelming. Like it was great.
They had a really smart plan by splitting the heroes up. Like there's not really a true moment where every single hero is on screen. And I think that was a really great idea. They pretty much split it up into like
probably like three or four groups.
Three or four groups of characters. A lot of characters that you wouldn't think would mesh well together. Turns out that they really do mesh well together. And I was pleasantly surprised with that.
Yeah, I think one of the smartest things they did was that grouping and the way that they spaced out the grouping, because by the end of the movie, of course, all of them are basically in the same place together.
Mm-hmm.
So they did this really smart thing of just, building up to it, from the start of the movie to towards the end of the movie. It's not like all of them are together right off the bat, because if they were to do something like that, there's no way that this movie would have made sense.
Yeah, and especially when you look at something like Justice League that kind of did that, had all of the heroes together pretty much right from the get go, and that movie is a giant mess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pleasantly surprised with how well it was paced, how quickly the movie went by. It's not a short movie, as most as everyone knows.
And like most of these Marvel movies, they're much shorter than Infinity War. And I was with that movie from start to finish. So that's definitely saying something about it, because without the credits, I think it's like 2:20.
Mm-hmm.
So you got 2 hours and 20 minutes of basically straight carnage throughout this entire movie, and it keeps you interested.
The entire movie is a climax.
Yeah,
straight up.
Essentially.
And one thing I also want to mention was seeing it in IMAX. Did you check it out in IMAX?
No.
Oh, bummer.
I know.
Most of the time when a movie is, says, oh, filmed with IMAX cameras, and you're like, cool. And then it turns out it's only really about like 20 minutes of the movie, like spliced out through the movie, not even just like a 20-minute straight segment. It's just like
20 minutes
scenes.
of clips every once in a while,
which is super annoying, especially when the aspect ratio starts changing. A recent terrible example of that was the last Transformers movie, where there would literally be scenes where it would be flip-flopping aspect ratios.
Did they?
Yeah.
So I thought Michael Bay was, I don't remember which Transformers movie it was. I think it was the third one where he was able to use like the first digital 3D IMAX camera. Or no, it was the fourth. Oh, it was the first one with Mark Wahlberg. So that was the fourth one.
Yeah.
And I can't remember if the aspect ratio changed or not with that. I'm assuming it did, but I know that was like a big deal back in the day. So maybe he only did film like half of it or something like that.
But with Avengers Infinity War, the entire movie is full screen, which is awesome. And not only is it full screen, if you see it in IMAX, you actually get more of the image. For instance, if like you were seeing it in standard and like Iron Man was standing there, and if you were in a regular movie theater, you could see like his chest and above. But if you were seeing it in IMAX, it would be like his knees and above.
Yeah, basically the aspect ratio is in the 1:8:5 ratio, which basically fills up. It's more of a square image versus the 2:3:5 aspect ratio, which is more of a rectangular image. Basically, filmmakers will use that because it looks a lot more cinematic for the theaters. But I believe for like the IMAX movies are supposed to look larger than life. So you want to use that 1:8:5 aspect ratio, the square ratio that I was talking about, to fill up the whole screen, to give that illusion of just, damn, this movie is huge.
Yeah, and that certainly felt this way for Infinity War, and it was easily probably the best IMAX experience I've ever had in terms of
I'm going to have to go see it.
Yeah, as like you and I, we definitely are into like the technical stuff. So when I see something like that, that really makes me happy, because I feel like that's what IMAX is for.
Right.
So I really like that. But
damn, this might be the first Avengers or Marvel movie I go see twice in a theater.
Right?
What is going on?
Even I'm contemplating going to see it twice. I'm just like, man, I really had a lot of fun, and it made me want to it made me want to watch Thor Ragnarok and Black Panther. I haven't seen either of those.
One of the things that I didn't remember, because one of basically the timeline of this movie, the first scene in the movie pretty much happens right after the events at the end of Thor Ragnarok. So I didn't realize that at first. I didn't put two and two together. So that's how unmemorable Thor Ragnarok is. Black Panther's, really good too, even though we talked about some of our issues of it with the last one. or on the last podcast, I think we were talking about that a little bit.
Briefly.
So my next point, not only my note here says the end cliffhanger feels earned, but I feel like every battle, everything about this movie felt earned versus like with the other Marvel movies where I feel like things are just happening because it's part of the story.
Yeah.
Like everything that's been happening over the last 10 years in these movies is finally building up to something. And it's this movie. So, that was very exciting for me because now there's actual stakes in the movie.
Yeah.
Versus, the last 10 Marvel movies are basically set up, for the next one.
Right. We spent like pretty much since Avengers 1 when Thanos was teased, we've spent about 6 years having this build up, and it's just so awesome to see the payoff, to see things actually happening, to see a Marvel movie with stakes. That's one of my, again, main complaints with the MCU is that there's just no stakes. You always know the heroes are going to come out on top no matter what, but this movie really changed that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I applaud it. One thing I do want to say, though, I don't know if you have it written down, but I feel like this is the perfect time to bring it up, is that with all of that being said, though, there are some really ridiculous character moments in the movie.
Yes, actually, that was my last note for what I didn't like, or what I did like. Now I'm ready to talk about things I didn't like.
All right, let's get into the dislikes.
So my first note about this movie is that certain characters go out of their way to do really dumb or make really dumb, unjustifiable decisions.
And this happens in a lot of Marvel movies, but I feel like specifically Infinity War had a lot of those moments where you were just like, this is unbelievably stupid.
Yes, there is one moment towards the end of the movie, not like real towards the end of the movie, but more towards like the Act 3, where one particular character makes a decision that's just so dumb that I'm just like, it was like a light switch. I'm just like, I'm like, this movie's a 10 right now. And then I'm just like, this movie's a 5 at this moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's definitely completely ridiculous. But other than that, though, I felt like the character moments were pretty good.
Yeah, there's a couple of other dumb decisions, but I think like those ones might be a little more justifiable. And when I was talking to Nate about this after the screening that I went to, I was a little aggravated. Like that moment just like completely took me out of the story. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but I felt like I was being a little too hard on this movie after that. So, I'm not saying that I agree with this dumb moment, but I feel like I'm being a little contradictory to what I said during A Quiet Place. If 90% of the movie is good, does that 10% really matter?
Right.
And I really feel like while this is a very, very big, dumb mistake, I can't really say that the movie's bad because of this one mistake.
And I would also agree with you on that. It definitely didn't ruin the movie, but when I was watching it, I was just like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, seriously? That's what we're going to do?
It could have been handled a lot differently. I'm not saying that what he did was dumb. I just feel like the reasoning behind it was a little dumb.
Agreed.
But I mean, it is what it is. So like I said, I talked a little bit about the unjustifiable bad decisions. I'm definitely okay with people acting on their emotions, but I just feel like a lot of these situations were just handled a little sloppy, just to get the story progressing.
Yeah.
And while, as a filmmaker, I understand that, and I've definitely been guilty of that myself. You would think with a huge movie like this, they're not going to make those kind of dumb decisions, especially when almost for the first 2 hours of this movie, it's damn near perfect.
Right. And with how many creative forces Marvel has at their disposal, all the writers, like they couldn't think of anything better than that.
Yeah.
I feel like there has to be something.
Yeah.
But they went with the easy route of just, hey, let's do this cheap emotional ploy and get so we can get the story moved along. But anyways, final thoughts, Shred?
I still have a couple more things I wanted to mention. So there's a couple lazy storytelling elements, not like the dumb decisions that they're making, But like one thing that kind of drives me nuts in movies, especially big movies, is when there's very, very important information being communicated through news media. So like the way that this isn't really a spoiler, but the way that not Black Widow,
Scarlet
Witch and Vision find out about, that Thanos is in town is through the news media because,
Yeah.
nobody is able to communicate with them because they're off the grid. That drives me nuts because there's a moment like this also in Justice League where I forgot her name in the movie, but Wonder Woman, not Gal Gadot, but like her character's name.
Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I know, but like her actual name.
Diana?
Yeah, Diana. So Diana, she's at her museum that I think she works at, right? So she's at her museum, and then just the TV just happens to be on talking about the thing that she needs to, go save.
Convenient.
Yeah, very convenient. So there's a couple stupid moments like this, but again, it didn't really bother me.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that bothered me that I know definitely bothered Nate was the Marvel cringe jokes, as they have so cautiously labeled it. Now, I feel like a lot of the humor is definitely good in this movie, but like some of the particular jokes you can definitely tell they threw in there because of shit that millennials are talking about now. Like there's a joke about Squidward in there.
Yeah.
Oh, because there isn't fucking 5,000 SpongeBob memes going on right now. So like, what millennials will think is hilarious right now? If we call Thanos or not, who do you call Squidward? Or who calls somebody Squidward? Oh, Tony
Ebony
Stark.
Maw
Okay.
is that character's name.
Okay. So Tony Stark refers to this character as Squidward, which is funny, but I'm just like,
Yeah. The thing the one humor moment that bugged me, and I won't give it away, but it was pretty much a recycled joke that we've already heard from a certain Spider-Man character that references, in a really old movie, which in Civil War, they reference Empire Strikes Back, and in this movie they reference a different movie, and they just recycle the same joke. But to me, it just feels like there's an adult man writing this movie and is like, what would a stupid 15-year-old say? Like, this is what dumb kids think. They don't know about they don't know about Star Wars. And I'm just like, yeah, like when I was 15, I knew about all of this stuff already. So it just kind of is like really weird and out of place.
I'm kind of curious of what you're talking about. Are you talking about when the three of them are in the donut?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Was there a joke in that?
Yeah.
Really?
It's just a recycled joke that didn't land the first time and didn't land the second time.
So they needed just some lazy... so there you go with the lazy storytelling elements again, where they need to set up, this moment of killing a character and just...
it was just completely ridiculous.
Right. Okay. So that's pretty much all the things that I didn't like. Now I'll move on to who I think will like this movie. Since I like to try and analyze these movies and give my best opinion to, not just film goers like me who, are film nerds per se, but I like to try and analyze movies so I can, recommend it to, different types of moviegoers. So I really don't think that people who don't like superhero movies will like this movie. I think pretty much anybody can go into this and have a good time. I know definitely Marvel fans will like this movie. A lot of people pissed off by the ending.
Yeah.
And I'm so happy about that. That was a great fucking ending.
It is really weird that people were so angry just because knowing how superhero movies work, the ending is going to be undone in the second movie.
Yeah, but I think maybe because Marvel has been playing it so safe for the last 10 years and some shit actually goes down, they're like, what?
Like, this is it?
Yeah.
I will say, though, with what you're saying, I feel like there is a certain degree of knowledge you should have before you see this movie, because you might be a little lost. I would at least say, watch Avengers 1 and 2 before you hop into this one.
Yeah, I don't really feel like you need to watch any of the last couple of them.
Yeah.
Because you got T'Challa, he's the most recent character, but you can kind of get a sense of what he's like and what Wakanda's like.
Mm-hmm.
They did a really good job of, still not really explaining the world, but showing that that Wakanda is more of a high tech society compared to like the United States and things like that. Thor Ragnarok, you really don't need to watch. I mean, if you just know who a lot of these characters are, I think you'll be okay. I think it's maybe a little bit more enjoyable if you're more familiar with the characters. Like I really like the Guardians movies. So, like seeing them again all together was a lot of fun, and knowing who they are and just how their characters are was a lot of fun. Thor also, like, I don't really remember all these movies, but they do. I will say one thing about all the Marvel movies: they do make the characters, like the main the characters themselves, very memorable. Like the movies aren't memorable, but the characters definitely are.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So like when you have these, like, I don't want to spoil it, but there's there's one huge moment in the movie towards the end, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. But a particular character gets a particular tool, and just rains hell on the bad guys. My theater just started cheering at that moment, and I was fucking hyped.
Yeah, it was definitely because you got the big Avengers score pop. And like I had chills when it was going on, and I was just like, yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Like this is what I want to see.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you.
So my overall thoughts, aside from my biggest gripe about the movie with its very, very poor choice of making characters making poor choices, I really think this might be the best of the three. And it probably is the best of the three. Like I'm throwing down the gauntlet and saying it's probably the best of the three.
I couldn't say for sure. It's been too long since I've seen Avengers or Age of Ultron.
I think it might probably be within at least the top 5 best Marvel movies. I'd have to like really dive into them and rank them, because the only one that I seriously remember right now is Black Panther, because it's so recent, and the first Iron Man. Like, I don't really remember Iron Man 2. I don't remember Iron Man 3, except for how pissed off people were about, what was his name?
The Mandarin.
Yeah, the Mandarin.
Yeah.
Ben Kingsley, which I actually like that moment.
I liked that twist too.
I like that twist. It was a good twist, but, it pissed a lot of people off.
Yeah, I thought Iron Man 3 was shitty for other reasons.
Yeah, not because of that one particular moment.
Right.
I felt that the Avengers 2 was, a little unmemorable. I don't really remember much of the first, other than, it was the first big, they're all together movie. So, it was definitely awesome. I'm not going to lie about that. But like 2 is just, I walked out of that movie just completely underwhelmed. I'm just like, that's it?
Yeah.
All right, whatever. So if I had to give it a score, I'm going to give it 8 out of 10 Thanos chins.
Nice.
Yeah.
I did appreciate the Star-Lord memeing on Thanos jokes. I liked those early on in the movie. If I had to give it a score, I'd say I'd give it 7 Infinity Gauntlets out of 10.
Nice.
So moving on to our main topic of the show, we're going to talk about what inspires us. Of course, you looked like you were going to say something.
No, it's this fucking thing. Like the screen goes black and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't checked it in a while. But no, we're good. We're still recording, guys.
All right. So we're moving on to our final topic, which of course is what inspires us. Of course, if this is your first episode listening to us and you don't really know who we are or what we do, Alex is a filmmaker.
Yes.
He makes lots of awesome short films, and his first feature film should be coming out
before I die, hopefully.
Before Alex dies, you have his guarantee. And of course, I make dumb YouTube videos on the internet with my friends.
Some YouTube videos are always good.
Yeah.
They're very entertaining. I really enjoyed Justin's recent take on Infinity War.
Yeah.
I thought it was very well thought out, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Well, I feel like we're finally sort of getting into like the swing of things, like our channel is
You guys
really,
have been in the swing of things for a while.
really picking up.
You get better at it as time goes on.
Yeah, it's all you can do is practice and then private those old videos.
Oh yeah.
And go, okay, this you can't watch that one anymore.
That's pretty much what I've done recently, because actually right before we did the podcast, I actually moved all of my videos onto a new channel, because my original channel was just my first and last name. And then I moved it once I knew that I was starting my company to AWS Films. And then I'm like, all right, time to move all the shit onto just my regular channel, just so nobody can ever watch it. And now I just have like all my legitimate shorts and things like that on the main channel. And then just, anytime I want to make something shitty, I just put it on the channel that nobody's ever going to find.
Nice. So I guess my first question to you, Alex, in terms of what inspires you, like what inspired you to become a filmmaker, was there a specific film or TV show or something that you saw that was just kind of like changed your perspective on, what you could do?
Not particularly. Like the way I came to want to make movies is probably a little unorthodox compared to a lot of other people you would talk to, because I felt like this is something that I've always wanted to do my entire life. Basically, for somebody who's like a huge movie person, I didn't go to the movies a ton when I was a kid. Like
Me either.
My mom brought us a lot. Well, not like a lot, but we did go see like big movies. The only ones I can remember going to see are like Hercules and the Pokemon movie and the first Harry Potter movie, because those were like big moments for me, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
But, I watched a lot of kids movies when I was a kid, and it really, like, I kind of knew what movies were from the beginning. Like, I never really thought they were real.
Yeah.
So I always knew like the process, kind of like I knew like this was something that was man-made, and I'm like, I kind of want to do something like that. I like the idea of being able to draw something and make it come to life. So I got really into drawing when I was a kid. And then kind of as time went on, I got a little uninterested in it. But once I got into middle school, I got really big into skateboarding. And from skateboarding, all of my friends, they wanted to make videos. Mm-hmm. So from making videos, I was the videographer, basically. I was the one filming everything. And people would film me too, but I was basically the main person doing it. But I was also doing all the editing. So I learned how to edit when I was 12, I want to say. And then I'm like, what, this is really fun. Like, I really enjoy doing this. So I kind of shifted over to live action. And I'm like, maybe I should just start making like films. So like when I was in middle school, back when there was video stores, like the Blockbusters.
I mean, Family Video still exists.
Family Video still exists. What's funny is that they were recently, is Family Video only in the NWI?
I think they're a little bit more regional than that. I have some other YouTubers I follow that live in like different states, like Pennsylvania and stuff. They have Family Videos as well.
Because I was scrolling through the Chive the other day, and there was a picture of a Family Video like up, and I'm just like, interesting. I wonder if that's like, around us or somewhere else.
I think it's weird because around us we have like 4 Family Videos within like a
we have quite a few,
like within a couple towns of each other, and but I think they are just sort of like lightly sprinkled throughout the U.S.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, over here we have like an abundance.
Yeah. So going back to that, when I was in middle school, I was doing that. I'm like, I started watching a lot of movies. I didn't watch a lot of scary movies because for some reason I thought those were real compared to, I had like this weird take on movies where I was like, I know they're not real, but they're still a little spooky. And I can thank Michael Myers for that. Because I think like the first legitimate horror movie I ever saw was Halloween 4.
Nice.
And watching that when I was a teenager just like scared the living shit out of me. Like I remember just one thing that I'll never forget is that scene where, it's basically a recreation of the first movie in the first house.
Right.
But I can't remember the scenario, but basically the guy goes downstairs to get beer, and Michael basically like holds him up and then just like, I think jams a shotgun in him, or maybe it was a knife.
It was probably a knife. I don't think he's ever...
Because in the first movie, he like hangs somebody up with a knife. Mm-hmm. But I know it happens again in the fourth movie too.
Well, yeah, the fourth movie is almost straight up a remake of the first movie.
Okay, so yeah, so like that moment just like scared the shit out of me. And, like Michael just terrified me after that.
Yeah, there's something about the clean mask that's just so
it's very
unsettling.
Eerie. Yeah, so I didn't make like horror movies or anything like that, but just like from there, I'm just like, this is something that I really want to do. So I started pursuing that, but some our listeners probably aren't going to know this, but I got really sick when I was in when I was 16 and I almost died. So after that, that kind of pushed me a little bit more to want to pursue this. And actually, the first movie that I guess is kind of like my, I don't want to say aha moment, but the moment that you're talking about that I've like really opened up to what kind of movies that I wanted to make was Fight Club. Because the reasoning behind that is Fight Club like really taught me to do what I want to do and not take anybody's shit.
Yeah.
Because I know that I don't think that's really the overlying theme of the movie, but that at that moment in my life, the first time I saw that, that's what I got out of that.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. So did you ever like, so when you were in middle school or high school, were you ever in like I don't know if your school had like video classes?
Sort of. Definitely not in middle school. I'm pretty much self-taught in everything. Luckily, these days we have the internet and YouTube, but back in my day, we didn't have we had YouTube, but we didn't have like all these tutorials and shit.
Right.
So basically, I had to pretty much learn on my own. And so when I was in high school, we had I think it was like an animation class. So because I remember I actually made this animation of the first 30 seconds of this famous skateboarder, Chris Cole's part in the Zero New Blood video.
Ooh.
I recreated the first 30 seconds of that movie, or not movie, his part in Microsoft Paint and made an animation out of it.
Nice.
You know what's crazy is that is my most watched YouTube video of all time.
You have to send me the link to that.
I don't have it anymore.
Dang it.
I think I have the video, so I'll try and get it uploaded. But I got like 10,000 views on that shit.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome, though.
This was back in like 2006, 2007.
Old school.
Yeah, super old school. So then I actually had one class, or no, I did have an editing class. It wasn't like a video production class. It was really weird. I don't remember what the class itself was called, but basically we had to make videos, and the projects we had to make were our teacher wanted us to take a movie and basically rip the DVD and cut like a trailer for it. So I remember there was only 3 of us in the class. That's how limited this shit was. But I remember, I don't remember what one guy did, but another guy cut a trailer for 300 to, it was this Metallica song. I can't remember what it is. But I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do that. I'm going to make my own trailer. So I made this trailer called The Rambo Sitter. And it was basically John Rambo if he was a babysitter.
Ooh.
So
It's like that movie with Vin Diesel.
yeah, that's the one I think that's what inspired it actually. It was so stupid, but like I had like all these crazy action scenes, and I actually made, I can't remember. It was like this pipe bomb that we had explode in my backyard. It wasn't like, it was just like this bomb in the middle of my backyard, and it just exploded, in the middle of the yard. But we made it, I tried to cut it to make it look like, John Rambo's dodging this bomb. And it was my best friend, who's still my best friend to this day. I don't know why he did this shit, but he played John Rambo, and he's just like running around like an ape, just like without his shirt on, just jumping over shit and just being super ridiculous. But after that class, I asked my teacher, I'm like, hey, what can I do? Like, I want to do this. Like, what can I pursue to, keep doing this while I'm in high school? Because the only other option I had was to take a vocational, and I didn't want to do that because I wanted to do work study just so I could get out of school half day every day, which was fucking awesome, by the way. But I was able to do a class like that. I was the only one in the class, and basically the entire semester, I just needed to make a video. He didn't care what kind of video I did. I just needed to do something. So I was like, all right, I'm going to make my first like legitimate short film then. So what I wanted to do is I didn't want to write my own original material. I wanted to basically learn how to make a movie by recreating a scene from something else. So at this point, I'm obsessed with Fight Club. So I'm going to recreate Fight Club. I was just going to recreate. Have you seen the movie?
Yeah.
Okay, so I basically recreated the first and last scene as if it were just, just one long short film. So I did it, and man, I learned real quick about how difficult making movies is.
Yep.
With how flaky people are, and just how much I was willing to get things done too. If you've ever been on set with me, you know that I'm getting a lot of shit done by myself, and I wish I was better at delegating because, you know, I do have a lot of people who are willing to help me, and, you know, I do delegate a lot, but people notice that I'm just a doer, so I'm just like getting shit done. But the reason behind that is because I had to get this film done. So like I had a crew every once in a while, so I learned how to make like a makeshift boom pole. So I just used a mop stick, and I bought this cheap microphone that I found over at Guitar Center. It was like $100, but I was able to plug it into my camera, and I bought like a brand new camera for this project. I think it was like a $900 camera. So, you know, that's a lot of money at this point. And I did have a job, so I was able to buy it myself, but I learned how quick people are flaky on me. And it's kind of interesting with how it worked out for this particular short. So basically, the first couple of weeks go really well. It took us 10 weeks to shoot this thing. It should have only taken us 4, but it took us fucking 10 weeks to shoot this thing. And we were just shooting it on weekends on my own time. So the first couple of times I had help, and then people just stopped showing up. So I would legitimately record with the boom pole. I had a remote for my camera because I was also acting in this thing too. So I would set up a shot, jump in front of the camera, act, and, you know, do the sound. I think I ended up like taping my boom pole to like one of those work light stands, just so I had something. So I would operate the camera when it was my second actor. Like I didn't need me in the shot, but if I needed me in the shot, you know, I was just using my remote to record and, you know, just hoping that shit worked out. And, you know, I had green screen and shit like that. So like, I just was like, I'm going fucking all out for this short.
Nice.
So there was this girl that plays Marla Singer in the short. And I was like, this girl is perfect for this part because she had the right attitude and had this kind of a similar look to Helena Bonham Carter, you know, as she did in the movie and kind of in real life too. So I'm like, you got to be in this thing. So she shows up and she did the first day of shooting, and then she just disappeared. And I'm like, I still have stuff I got to shoot. So what I did, and it did not work, but I did it. Basically in the movie, she wears a black t-shirt and she wears gray skinny jeans. So I took my little brother and I bought this like huge black coat, and I had like a pair of gray jeans that I duct taped around him to make them skinny jeans. And I basically just hit his face because there's only like maybe 3 shots that we didn't get when she basically enters my garage to, you know, find me after I shoot myself. Sorry, spoilers for people who haven't seen the movie. So, and then I dubbed all of her lines. Like like I said, it's just like 3 shots. She's getting carried into the place, so you can't see her face, but it's so fucking ridiculous. I'll have to send you, because that one I do have on YouTube.
Nice.
And then, you know, just eventually it just ends up cutting to her, and it's clear that it's not the same person. Because for one, she's not wearing a coat. She goes from wearing a coat to wearing a t-shirt.
That's amazing.
But I had to do what I had to do because, you know, it was clear that I was using a little. I don't remember how old my brother was at the time, probably like 13 or something, you know, and it's, oh my God, it was such a mess.
So do you have any like specific directors that sort of inspire you at all?
Well, obviously David Fincher.
Right.
You know, I go with the obvious Spielberg answer, the obvious Kubrick answer.
But what's a not obvious answer?
Not obvious answer? Oh, man.
Harmony Korine?
I love Harmony Korine. Not some of his earlier stuff, but like Spring Breakers, you know, was very, very, very good. It's one of my favorites because it really showed me that you can make a movie that has sort of a plot that gets used a lot, but you can do it in like a super interesting way.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I respect a lot of filmmakers like that. Darren Aronofsky, which I know you're not a huge fan of, but he's one of my favorites. I watched Requiem for a Dream when I was in high school, and I became obsessed with that movie. But his main movie that I'm really obsessed with is The Wrestler. And that was one of my main influence on Cashing Out too, which is weird because Cashing Out is not a sports movie. But you can argue that The Wrestler is not a sport. Have you seen The Wrestler?
I haven't.
Okay.
Still haven't.
You need to watch that movie. Like, it is fucking incredible.
Yeah. I mean, you hype it up, but you know me, I don't like Darren Aronofsky.
It's not, you would never know that Darren Aronofsky made it, just because it's not like a weird movie.
Yeah.
It's just like a super like character movie. You know what I mean?
That's got Mickey Rourke
Mickey
in it, right?
Rourke in it, and Marissa Tomei.
Yeah. Nice.
She plays a stripper, so yes, I definitely recommend checking that out. And Evan Rachel Wood too, which, you know, watching Westworld, it kind of blows my mind because I see her in all these, like, I saw her in 13, you know, when she was a baby. And have you ever seen 13?
No.
It's like this movie where she plays a 13-year-old and, you know, just gets like into drugs and shit like that just at a really early age, and just all the consequences behind it.
When you said 13, the thing that popped into my mind was that really shitty early 2000s horror movie 13 Ghosts with, with Matthew Lillard.
Okay,
and
no,
I was
I'm not talking about that one. It's like this.
I was like, where's there a little girl at in that movie?
Yeah, it was like a super indie movie. But, you know, watching Westworld, because Evan Rachel Wood is so robotic in that movie, and it's just, she's so good in that show. Or I called it a movie, a show. The other directors, I could probably name off a ton. Those are the ones that come off to mind at the top of my head. I respect directors who respect the process a little bit more than others. Like, I don't really follow too many big blockbustery directors, if you know what I mean. Like, I can't really name any off the top of my head. Like
Michael Bay.
Yeah, well, Michael Bay, obviously, which he does respect the process to an extent. I just don't really believe in his beliefs. And then another one who kind of drives me nuts because I can't really tell if I love him or hate him is James Cameron, because he makes so many phenomenal movies, but he's just such a, I don't even want to say it. I got very close, but I'm just, his philosophies behind some things I'm just not a fan of. Like I said, just like big block, you can tell, like I can always tell when somebody cares about something versus when they're just going for a paycheck. I don't really care for the people behind movies that are just there for the check. I mean, obviously it's a job, but when you got to respect the process.
Yeah, I certainly agree with you. James Cameron is a weird one.
Yeah.
Because he's directed so many bangers, like, you know, Terminator, Aliens, Terminator 2.
Right.
But then he's also made crap like Avatar.
Yeah. And I don't even know if it's been so long that I watched Avatar. I don't even know if I can call Avatar a bad movie. Maybe just more so one that I just don't really like.
It's just Pocahontas with blue.
Yeah, I
alien
know,
people.
but you do that, but then we go back to the debate about how there's no original ideas. So, I mean, the whole Pocahontas, you know, Dances of Wolves thing that I keep hearing about, I just kind of ignore that because I'm like, yeah, but you can really argue that about really any movie. So I'm just,
You could.
it's more so just like the movie itself, and I guess the people who are hyping it too, calling it so original when it's, in a way it is, but in a way it's not.
Visually, perhaps original in some way.
Yeah. And like I said, just James Cameron in general, just he's got a very big ego, which I guess, you know, it's definitely very built up and very well deserved with what he's been able to accomplish. You know, the top 2 grossing movies of all time are his. So, I mean,
Avatar and Titanic?
Avatar and Titanic are the top 2. So, I mean, you can't really argue that he doesn't know what he's doing.
You're right. But I do back Titanic, though. I think that's a pretty good movie. So
I'm so conflicted about Titanic because we have a mutual friend that just absolutely hates Titanic, and I love hating on Titanic with him. But then I just watched the movie, and I'm just like, he did a really good job.
It's an emotional roller coaster.
It is an emotional roller coaster, and just the movie itself, like, is just so damn entertaining, especially with how long it is.
Right. I was gonna say it doesn't really need to be 3 hours long, but it also doesn't feel like it's 3 hours.
That's
long.
true, because like the thing is, like when this goes back to another point I could have made about the Avengers, but when something feels so epic, you know, the runtime, it makes sense. When the movie feels epic, the runtime makes sense. So Avengers, it makes sense. Titanic, it makes sense. I don't remember Avatar, so I don't know if that makes sense. I'm sure the runtime does make sense. But yeah, however, it was on TV. It's so weird. Like, I think I was talking about it with my family, and then it just ended up being on TV recently.
Nice.
And you remember the scene when Rose is about to step off the platform,
Yeah, like towards the beginning, like when she first meets Jack.
Right.
Yeah.
So the CG is a little obvious. CG is obvious.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize it. Like even watching it on the IMAX, I never noticed it. But watching it on my TV, I'm like, damn, this looks bad.
I don't, honestly, I don't even remember that scene having any CG in it at all. It's
the background,
yeah.
like the night sky and the ocean and things like that. Like you can definitely tell that
Yeah.
if you watch it real closely. It's like that scene in Black Panther, the first waterfall fight scene. Oh, you didn't see it?
Nope.
Shit.
I don't know.
I can't even talk to you about it.
Nope.
Okay, well, when you do watch it, you'll probably notice that.
Yeah, most likely. So
Yeah.
So now with your first feature film,
Yes.
finished filming, correct?
Yeah, I thought I finished filming it back last June, but after some decisions that had to be made, I had to actually reshoot. Well, I had to not really reshoot a scene. I had to write a new scene in replace of another scene because of some location issues, I guess you could say, like because I didn't really get permission for everywhere that I shot. So, I had to. That was the only one that my lawyer was really uncomfortable with me keeping in the movie. So I'm like, all right, you know what? It's my first film. I'm not going to push any buttons. It's really, the scene is only a minute long. It's not a make or break thing for me. So I'm like, I'm just going to pick and choose my battles here.
Sweet. So, what sort of inspired Cashing Out?
So I think I touched on this the first podcast, but basically what kind of got me going with the whole movie is that I wrote this short when I was in college. I'm not going to give you the whole history again because I tell this story way too much and I'm kind of bored with telling everybody about it. But basically, the original script was about the Alan character that's in Cashing Out. His name was actually Jimmy in the original script. But he's basically playing blackjack tournaments. So it's kind of like a sports movie in a sense, if it was like a gambling movie. But basically he learns about these blackjack tournaments and, he wants to play them. And he has this relationship with his dad and with his mom that he's having issues with. So it's kind of like a family drama in a sense. I don't really have any family drama, so I can't really say that particular script was inspired by that. More so, that script was inspired by my own personal experiences playing blackjack, because I actually played a lot of blackjack tournaments way back in the day. It's something I still wish that I can do, but just I don't really have a lot of time and just money. I'm just like, I got to pick and choose my battles as far as what I spend my money on. But I've actually placed in blackjack tournaments before and made not like a huge substantial amount of money, but pretty good chunk for what I spent.
Yeah.
I made a few grand. So I'm like, and I met a lot of interesting people during this time. But one of the things that really inspired the story as far as like the father-son relationship is that my dad kind of got interested in learning more about blackjack and playing these tournaments with me. So that was like a huge bonding experience for us. So I'm like, that would probably make a really interesting story. So I made that like the theme of the movie, kind of like this father-son relationship where they're having issues and things like that. And I know it's not the most original story, but I think my take on it is what makes it original.
Okay.
So, flash forward to the present day, I tried to make that into a feature-length script and it really wasn't working out. It was a lot of the feedback that I was getting on it was that it was super cliche and the characters weren't interesting and things like that. So I'm like, okay, whatever. So I really started thinking about the characters and trying to base them off people that are in my real life and not really so much like, hey, this person is this person, but, kind of like traits of these people and what I think makes them interesting. So I tried to build that into some of my characters. But really, I kept the blackjack aspect of it for a long time, and then I moved it to poker. And the main reason I moved it to poker is because I decided to make the movie about robbing home poker games. People don't really do home blackjack games. I do, because that's where I spent most of my time learning how to play blackjack. However, the general public they really don't play blackjack. They really don't understand blackjack. They kind of understand poker more so than, that it exists versus blackjack. So I'm like, all right, I'm just going to turn this into a poker movie just because it's a little more common than blackjack. The robbing poker aspect of it, I don't remember exactly how I got inspired by it, but I do remember a couple of our mutual friends telling me one day that if they were to ever rob banks, they would want me on their team. So I'm like, I thought that was really strange at the moment. I was kind of flattered too. I don't think I could get away with that. But then it started like stirring up in my brain. I was like, I wouldn't be very good at robbing banks, but I'd be very good at like robbing poker games. So I'm like, oh shit, robbing poker games. I haven't really seen that in a lot of any movies. Like mostly it's just about playing the game or, something like that. So I'm like, oh, maybe I should try and do that, and just, so I basically took that concept and then I wanted it to be about the people. So basically this whole movie centers around one event and just how it kind of affects them afterwards. That's basically what the story is about. So yeah, I mean, those were my main inspirations behind it.
Nice. Yeah, I was kind of curious about that with like home poker games, because someone like me, I've only been to a casino one time in my life. I've never played any card games or anything like that. So I was kind of thinking in my head, like, do people really play like actual money stakes poker games in their own home?
Yeah, like it's actually really not that common. And you know what? I actually started researching like home games that have been robbed because I didn't want it to be unrealistic. And actually recently there has been, not like probably within the last couple of years, more so when I actually was like writing the script, it was more recent. But one incident in particular, I don't remember where it happened, but some guy came in with like one of those stupid horse masks and robbed a poker game. And he got away with like a few $1,000s. Well, it was more than that, but probably like in the 5 digits at least. So it was like more of a high stakes game. So I'm like, okay, now this is realistic because this actually happens. And it's a lot more common. As I started to research it more, I found that it was a lot more common than I originally thought. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I guess this is really a thing. It's actually kind of funny. I don't remember when it happened. I think it was like shortly after I came home from my vacation from Vegas, but somebody robbed the poker room at the Bellagio, like the cashier, I can't remember what it's called, the cashier desk where you basically cash in your chips after you're done playing. Like somebody robbed that place at the fucking Bellagio. I'm like, okay, I guess we got the plot for cashing out too now.
That's crazy that someone would try and rob an actual casino.
Yeah, and they got away with it. It's the craziest thing.
Yeah, just from the one time going to a casino, like security is locked down.
It really is.
Like we had to get our IDs checked like multiple times and all, and like this and that, and like they scanned our IDs, and I was just like, well, all this just to play some slots?
They really don't fuck around, especially in the card rooms. Like the slots, like, it's slot machines. It's really hard to really cheat at that, I guess, unless you just like are breaking into the machine, essentially, which you 100% are going to get caught about that. But, they're watching those tables like hawks. They do not fuck around with that shit.
So, yeah, that's pretty crazy. Do you have any sort of update on cashing out that you can offer?
Yeah. So I'm basically at the point to where I can comfortably say that I'm finished cutting the picture.
Nice.
So now it's really down to the sound editing, basically adding sound effects, making sure all the dialogue sounds crisp and there's not a lot of distracting noise in the dialogue. So we're working on that right now. I have a sound mixer that I'm working with, and also the music. I forgot about the music, but it's the same guy that I'm working with for that. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, in the next couple months I'll have this done, but I'm working hard to get it done.
Nice. And you are, and you can definitely tell, like I can see it in you when I see you, and you just look like you've been busting ass, like you've been staring at a computer monitor for like 12 hours straight.
Yeah.
And you've also got some merch coming?
I do have some merch coming, so I didn't want to talk about that too soon, but since you brought it up, it's fine.
Hey, you posted about it on the
Yeah,
internet.
I know. I posted about it on the internet, so yeah, you know
Fair
what?
game.
Fuck you, Nate, for talking about my merch that I've been clearly posting about all the time. But yeah, I have some t-shirts, posters, and hoodies that will be going on sale hopefully very soon. I'm still testing. I'm trying to fix some of the problems. I've been not real happy with the prints, but that's kind of my fault. So I'm changing some of the images, and once I get that pretty much perfected, which I'm very close, I'm waiting on some stuff to come in right now. And then once that is good to go, I'm hoping that I'm going to put the store up with the trailer. So basically the trailer will be up and I will say, oh, did you like this trailer? Well, now you can buy some merch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yep.
Very excited to see you cashing out. It's been a long time coming.
I'm very, very happy with it right now. If I showed it to people, they would definitely get the gist of it. But I want it to be as good as it can be. And it's 100% getting there right now.
And of course, we want that Blu-ray release.
I'm hoping for the Blu-ray release. I actually have a colleague. I guess here's your free plug, Trey Manchester. But I have a colleague who was making a movie. He made his like a year before mine, and his actually just came out on DVD, Amazon Prime, Google Play, and iTunes, I want to say.
What's it called?
The movie is called The Things We've Seen.
Okay.
It has Randy Ryan in it. He's kind of like the star, if you will, but he was one of the supporting characters in Public Enemies, that Johnny Depp movie that filmed out here.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
But he was in that. He's kind of like he's like the name of the movie, basically. But I mean, he got his movie like legitimately distributed, but they aren't doing a Blu-ray release for it. And I think a lot of people are bummed about that. So I'm really, fingers crossed. I'm hoping that we can get cashing out on a Blu-ray release because it probably will look very good in that 1080.
Nice. Yeah. I would love to see it on
Yep,
Blu-ray.
Absolutely. So, flipping the script.
Ooh.
Nate, tell me about your experiences. Why did you... I feel like we definitely come from similar backgrounds.
Yeah.
But also, because you're not trying to be a filmmaker. You are a YouTuber. And I think back when I first met you, I wouldn't think, 3-4 years from now, this guy's going to be making YouTube videos. So how did you get into it, I guess?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because I was going to bring it up how we had like very similar backgrounds, especially with like skateboarding. So it really started there with me watching a lot of the Baker skateboarding videos, and how they have like the hijinks that are like spliced in between the skateboarding.
That definitely influenced a lot of my video editing techniques.
Yeah. So a lot of that stuff. And when me and my friends would skateboard, and I ended up finding a camera in my house that took like high 8 tapes, I think.
I think that's, Are they like the smaller, or are they the fat ones or the skinny ones?
They're like the fatter ones.
The fat, but they're like the like small, like kind of like the size of a deck of cards.
Yeah.
But that's just the fat ones. I use those too.
Yeah. So I found one of those cameras, and I was like, guys, we could start filming our skating, and we can start like filming random people in the streets or whatever, and like sort of just emulate that.
Yeah.
And so that's where it really started. I was never like the filmer. I would always pass the camera to someone else just because I wasn't very good at riding a skateboard and holding a camera.
Sure.
So it kind of started there, and then it sort of evolved into me and my friends going into the woods, like making like little like stupid skits where we're just like doing dumb shit.
Sure.
Sort of like in our own heads. And that was sort of what got me interested in just like being in front of a camera. Because I mean, we never like showed anyone those things, but we always just like kept it to ourselves, and it was just like a funny thing. Like we'd be like, "Oh, let's watch the tape from this day," because that would be really funny to revisit that.
Right.
And I mean, it was just us messing around. So I started watching, like really getting into YouTube, like 2012-ish. I started watching a lot of like movie analysis videos, and that's kind of when YouTube really sort of popped off into something that was a little bit different. Like there was a little bit more, I don't want to say professionalism, but like sort of not just like a vlog or like a rough style of YouTube video, which YouTube was previously. So
Right.
Stuff like Red Letter Media, they're a really big influence on us in general.
Basically, what you're kind of telling me is you found some people who are making some legitimate content, and you're like, oh, I could probably do something like that.
Right, because me and all of my friends, we would always discuss movies. We've always been into watching movies. Like my core group of friends, we've always watched like weird stuff and not like, like big Transformers and stuff like that, but like weird, obscure, like horror movies. And we would always like talk about them and riff on them. And that was sort of like what the inspiration was. And then we started in 2014, we started the podcast.
Damn, has it really been that long?
Yeah, it's
Wow.
been a really long time.
It really doesn't feel like it.
Well,
I mean,
guess,
it might for you guys, but
yeah,
man, 4 years.
It was definitely 2014 because it was a video podcast. We didn't have a mic at the time or any mics at all. And it was for the RoboCop remake.
Oh.
And that was the very first thing. And we filmed it. We never released it. Like we filmed it. We watched it. The audio was terrible. And I was like, okay, this is just going to go away. Right. We're not going to talk about this.
Yeah. You're a lot. I would not do that. If I made something, I was putting it out whether it was shit or not. So I definitely commend you for that.
Yeah, I've definitely always been of the mindset of like, man, if something's bad, I really don't want to like embarrass myself. I mean, right. I definitely look back at our older content and it is embarrassing for sure. Mm-hmm. So we kind of got inspired by sort of just like the movie critiques and stuff like that. And then we did our very first episode of the podcast, which we posted, which was about The Room. And at the time, The Room wasn't, like super duper popular, like not like it is today, where right. like everyone knows what it is. But we were essentially just going to be like, okay, we're going to watch a movie every week and then sort of riff on it, talk about movie news, this or that, and do reviews, because we would always just have really in-depth conversations about movies. And I was like, why, we were like, why don't we like film this somehow and release it? Because we thought at the time that we were really great about, talking about movies, but
yeah,
then you find out that you're not that great and you don't like take notes or anything like that. So
you're basically having like drinking conversations,
right?
Essentially about these movies. Like, yeah, I like movie. Yeah, I like movie too.
Yeah. And then, when you record it, you're just like, man, this is kind of awkward.
Yeah.
So, but we ended up, we changed up the podcast. We stopped doing like the focusing on one movie. I think we only did like 2 episodes where it was like based on movies, and it was The Room and Troll 2. Mm-hmm. And then after that, we moved on to just talking about like movie news and like whatever was popular. And that was fun for a really long time. But we weren't really seeing like any sort of return on the time investment or anything like that. So we were just kind of...
Were you guys just not getting a ton of views or engagement or, whatever?
Like we would get clicks. Like we had some early episodes that had like, 1,000 views, like, or 1,000 listens, because it was all on SoundCloud. But yeah, there was no engagement, like no comments or anything like that. And so it just kind of felt like we were just talking to no one.
Right.
Like you were just saying all of this stuff and it was just going out into the ether. So like 80 episodes into the podcast or something, we were just kind of finally like, you know what, screw this. We're going to go for shorter. And you actually inspired us.
And here we are making a long ass podcast here
right.
again. I'm going against everything that I taught you.
Because Alex would always offer me advice or just critique our videos in general, because they were really long, unedited, just very rough videos. And so we decided, we were like, okay, we're going to get some lighting. We're going to get a microphone. We're going to do this sort of like shorter video style reviews. And so that's what we started doing. And I think that definitely has turned a lot of things around for the channel. We definitely got we've only been taking the channel seriously, like actually seriously, probably since March of 2017 was when we really changed up our content. So of course we also wanted to have a little bit of diversity in our channel. And I've always collected like action figures and stuff my whole life. So I sort of know like in my mind what makes a good or a bad action figure. So I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing figure reviews and just like sort of showing them off and talking about them and what could be done better, this or that. And for that, another YouTuber really inspired me who actually passed away a couple years ago, and it was really sad for me.
Really?
And his name was Glenn Webb, and he sort of did like figure reviews, but he was interesting. He had like a personality. He would do like vlogs and stuff and all sorts of really interesting content. And he was just a really interesting person. So when he died, I straight up cried. Like I was just like, wow, like this guy was
you
such
got a personal connection to him. I mean,
yeah. Like, I mean, I didn't know him or anything, but he was just such an inspiration on me and like how I sort of modeled the figure reviews that I do. So I was just like, shit, like just out of nowhere. And sort of like, cause I don't know, there's like a specific way that people do figure reviews on YouTube, sort of like a white background so that, you know, whatever you're looking at really pops.
Sure.
And so that kind of stuff inspired that side of our channel. And I mean, that's pretty much it. Channels like Red Letter Media or Angry Video Game Nerd or even the Nostalgia Critic to some degree all sort of inspired us into showing like, okay, we can talk about movies, we can be funny, we can interject little skits into the reviews so that it's not just a straight up like, this movie was really good because this reason. Mm-hmm. And we were really afraid at first to like sort of let our sense of humor shine through. Like we were very robotic for a long time and we'd be like, oh, well, we don't want to say this or that because we don't really want to be like super funny. But then we were just like, but that's our personality. That's who we are. So we also started opening up a lot and like making more jokes, filming little skits and stuff.
I think that's definitely helped your guys' content because people like more, not even the content will drive them sometimes. It's the personality. Mm-hmm. Like you got me into like the H3 videos and like the more I think about it, like it's not even like I care so much about what Ethan and Hila are talking about.
Yeah.
It's that they're so damn funny, you know, because of their personality. You know, that's what drives me to them. And I definitely have noticed that you guys have opened up to that since, you know, you started making the shorter videos.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of our thought on it too, because obviously everyone and their mother does movie reviews on YouTube. It is a very oversaturated market, but you know, we make it our own and we try and interject our own personality. And that's what I really want out of the channel is, and I always say this to the other guys that I do the channel with, is I'm like, I want people to show up to our channel for us, not what we're like talking about, you know? So in that regard, and I think it is working in a way. Right now we're in a little bit of a stagnant point, which is kind of disappointing. We're just floating around the 800 sub mark. So
you're not really, your subs haven't like gone up or anything like that?
We hit 500 subs. We blew through 600. We blew through 700. And now we're just like sitting around. I think we have 822 subscribers right now. And it's just kind of been stagnant lately. So but we've all been pretty busy. So our content's been not as like involved, I guess. We're still making stuff, but it's not like the skits that we do for like our Spider-Man Homecoming video or the Halloween ranking video that we did where we pretty much recreated the opening of the original Halloween movie. And so I want to get back to stuff like that. And we also do want to branch out and start making like short films. We tried to do that last year. And like you said, you know, the first time you tried to make an actual film, you find out that it's not so easy and it's not all sunshine and rainbows. And that was a big reality check because our movie was outside. It was a horror movie and all three of us were the actors, which is a terrible idea because we're not actors. We have no experience at all in that field. And we really have no experience at all in terms of like shot composition or anything like that. So it was all very like awkward still framing because we didn't have a cameraman either. So it would literally just be
You're basically doing what I was doing, just set up the shot and go, right?
Yeah, set up the shot, then we do the bit, and then we move the camera, then we do the bit. And like the camera was never moving at any point. There was a few moments where we would like cheat and make it to where like one of us were off somewhere else, you know, in the story, like, oh, we're not here right now. And then we would have like the moving camera shots because one of us would be free to do it.
Hey, you got to do what you got to do. It's funny that you mentioned how you guys have never done this before. I can't remember if it was like a movie, a TV show, or like a comedy special, but I can't remember who said this. I'm gonna have to look it up later. But this person says, never do something for the first time. Always do it for the second time. Your second time will be good.
Yeah.
The third time, you'll get it right, but never do something for the first time.
Yeah, and thankfully, as we went on filming the short film, we were just like, this is not going well. And we just canned it and sort of just took that as a learning experience. And that's kind of where we are now. We're still going to want to do like the movie reviews, but we do definitely want to move into like the more skit-based humor, maybe some short films.
I'd love to see that. It'd be really interesting to see what you guys come up with. I mean, you guys are already kind of doing that. So maybe even my recommendation would be just to keep doing that until you get really good at doing the skits and finding like your mojo with it. And then I think you could probably branch off and, start doing just the narrative itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's where sort of like a lot of inspiration from Red Letter Media comes from, is because they do movie reviews, but they also have like an underlining like story going on between like the characters they have and themselves. And so it like spices up the review a little bit because you're like getting a part of this random story that just sprawls across these reviews.
Right. I really like when people do stuff like that. It definitely makes things more...
It's like a universe building.
Yeah, it's like a universe. Man, what's the word I'm looking for? Compelling. It makes it a lot more compelling instead of just watching these bland... reviews or whatever. You're just like, get a little bit of the story here, a little bit of the story here.
And we've also started, because we're all big memers, so we've also started injecting a little bit more of our style of like meme humor into our videos too. Just because like we're just like, this is who we are. Like, not the comedy in a lot of our videos doesn't even come from like us specifically. It's more so of like the editing. Turning it into like a funny moment.
I think that does come from you guys as well, because I mean, I definitely noticed you guys have been using editing as kind of like a character tool as well. So I mean, I think that comes from you guys as well, because you're like, oh, like it wouldn't be hilarious if I just zoomed in on, this reaction right now.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I can't say I do that as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's definitely coming from you guys.
Yeah, and some of that stuff is intentional. Like, we'll intentionally like be like, okay, after we say this, you're gonna look at the camera so that we can edit it later. But a lot of the time, it's just like like a funny unintentional moment that while I'm editing the video, I notice it happening, and I'm just like, okay, I'm gonna turn this into a joke.
Those are always the best.
Yeah, and it happens quite a lot.
And actually, that's funny, because one of the I've been trying to get some feedback on cashing out, and it's not really like a comedic thing too. Like, that can apply to anything. So this friend that I had watch the movie, they're like, they noticed something in the movie. They're like, what if you did this with these two shots, cut out the shot that's right in the middle, and then you're going to make meaning out of something with these, putting these two shots together. I'm like, holy shit. Like I probably like thought of that in my head, like, subconsciously, but like I didn't think about it at the time, and I'm like, holy shit, like that's fucking brilliant. Like, I'm not like trying to take credit for that, but like I can't believe that she thought of that, so like it's definitely a thing that could be done in comedy or just in general, you know what I mean? Like, you can find things that just happen, and then you can almost make new meaning out of it, because that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, just adding something a little different. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much where my inspirations come from, just watching other people doing it on the internet and being like, okay, this is something that I would think is really fun. We already do it anyway. So like, why don't we just film ourselves talking about movies or doing whatever, just to put out there? We do it for fun. We're not trying to be famous. We're not making any money. So it's just something fun we do. It's our hobby.
Right.
And yeah, that's what we do.
Hobbies can turn into businesses.
I mean, obviously that would be amazing, but we're not like thinking that or banking on that at all.
Just got to keep doing it. I mean, even if you like people who I hate people who, man, this has got to be a topic for an episode, but I definitely want to talk about people's mindsets about a lot of things just in general.
Yeah.
Because when people get into these mindsets like, oh, this isn't working, like right away. Like I'm just gonna give up, and then just nothing ever comes out of it, and then it just kind of eats away at them for years. So like I've been making movies, like I just said, I've been trying to do this since I was 12, and I've been like seriously making movies at least since probably 2009, maybe 2010. I'm not like some super famous person. I definitely made a lot of shit, during those earlier times. But, like I know this is not like an overnight process. So you just got to keep doing it. Like, making it a career will be great, but it's not something like, as long as I can keep doing it, that's fine too. I just want people to watch what I do and enjoy themselves.
And same for me. We're both two different spectrums of sort of the same thing, but
going for the same goal.
But yeah, we just want people to have fun and enjoy themselves and with what we create, because that's what it's all about. So yeah, that is what inspires us to do what we do. Alex, do you have any closing thoughts?
I do have a closing thought. I never got to talk about this, but another thing that kind of inspires me, and the timing on this is just so inconvenient, because I don't want people to think that I'm talking about this just because Me Too movement is happening right now. But I definitely would say that I'm inspired by a lot of women, and I don't mean that in like some weirdo, like creep factor way, I guess, you know what I mean? But like a lot of the women, like my mom, for instance, she's definitely my biggest influencer. She's been my biggest supporter my entire life. She's supported my movie making and all that, and just everything that I did in life. And she definitely has been pushing me my entire life to try and be the best person that I can be. And I can definitely say that a lot. Like a lot of my teachers growing up, were like that too. They definitely saw a lot of potential in me and things like that. Like when I was writing the script that became Cashing Out, my mentor was a woman. And that's not like I wanted it to be like that. It's just, like, I just have all these amazing women that I'm surrounded by all the time. And then, my girlfriend as well, she inspires me daily and things like that. And a lot of my female friends, they're always pushing me as well. Like a lot of my team for making films they're mostly women, because I feel like they're probably the smartest out of everybody that I know. Women are definitely a lot smarter than men. I can say that wholeheartedly. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. Shout out to all the ladies listening.
Shout out to all the ladies out there. We definitely enjoy you here at the Low Side Podcast. Of course, this is going to bring us to the end of our episode.
This is our longest episode.
Look at that.
Holy crap.
And it's only the two of us.
Could you imagine?
The two of us.
Could you imagine if Steve was on this episode? This episode would have been, this is going to be cut down, so this episode won't be as long as it is right now, but we're at an hour and 41 minutes.
Good grief.
Yeah.
Alrighty. So with all that being said, of course, if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, at the Low Side Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Leave us a review. Subscribe to us on Google Play. Also leave a review there. I don't know anything about Google Play because I have an iPhone, so...
Yeah, I'm going to have to look more. The Google Play is on the iPhone.
Huh.
You can get an app for it. So I have to play. I had no idea that we finally got approved. They took forever.
Yeah, it took a really long time.
Like iTunes, like we were approved in the same day.
Yeah. Google Play was a little bit longer. So check us out on all of those platforms. Of course, I'm Nate. I've been joined with Alex.
See you guys.
And we will see you next time on the Low Side Podcast.